Coming up, 3 bodies found on an Oklahoma man's property leads to his arrest.
Underneath the snow-covered roads, we've got sheets of ice. We're going to have the latest on our winter storm from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And preparing your car to drive in hazardous conditions is one way to keep yourself safe over the next couple of days. We'll have tips for you on how to do just that. Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first over to Michael Hayslip.
Yeah, we're going to be hanging out here this morning, Tanya, because of the amount of moving parts that we have with our winter storm. Dylan, let's go ahead and start with Max 1 here, because that'll give us an idea of exactly where we're talking about our most treacherous situation, and that's going to be indicated, of course, here in the purple area that we now see in Joplin. Really take that Miami to Joplin line just north of I-44. And the reason I want to point that out to begin with is because that's where we're getting the freezing rain for the most part. Anything above to the north of that is now developing into snow. So that's, that's more bearable. But at the same point in time, underneath that snow, we've got the frozen roads as evident. Now let's transition over to Max 2. Perfect. Love you, Dylan. As we get to 7th and Range Line here. As 7th and Range Line, you can tell, yeah, you see the snow on the road, but it's what's underneath it that is treacherous, and we've got multiple reports of spin-offs already and accidents throughout the 4 states as we sit at the 5 o'clock hour. So it's going to be a very long morning. Want everybody to take every precaution known to man out there. Get out the door early, or if you don't have to get out the door, more power to you. Still holding on to the freezing mark down in Miami and in Grove in northeast Oklahoma, southern portion of southwest Missouri as well. Remember though, our temperatures dropping throughout the day. So even if you're down to the south and you've got a little precipitation, it may stay as rain right now. That's going to transition over into ice as we get through the morning hours. As we get into the afternoon, the rain will change over into ice, and all of you up to the north, you will continue to pick up the snow, and the snow is not going to disappoint, that is for sure, because even though we get a break this afternoon, watch at the left-hand part of your screen, because we simply reload and it just keeps on moving through, and then we get snow down to the south as well. So we're going to take this all the way into Thursday. I don't want anybody to let their guard down just because we get that afternoon break here. It's a 7-day forecast that has temperatures dropping down to, say about 11 tonight, and then single digits for Friday and Saturday night as well. So anything that is on the ground, Tanya, it is not going to go anywhere. Also, too, of note, just because this is a little personal to me, I need everybody that sees flashing lights when you see a snowplow to make sure that they've got plenty of room. Also, too, if you see them coming through an intersection, please come to a stop. They have a lot more weight behind them. They have a job to do, and give them the right of way.
And don't forget that at those intersections, you're not going to be able to stop like you normally do.
No.
You need to give yourself plenty of time.
I need everybody creeping up to intersections today.
There you go.
Yes. We creep up to every light, because if you see it go yellow, yeah, you're not, don't try to get through it. You may have a snowplow coming the other way. Don't think you're going to slam on your brakes, because you ain't going to make it.
Be safe out there. Be safe.
That's my goal.
That's
my goal. That's why I'm over here on my soapbox, and I'm going to be on my soapbox all morning long talking about safety, folks.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. An Ohio man is dead after a crash in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. It happened on I-44 about 10 miles east of Miami. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol is not saying what caused the crash. They did say it involved William Arthur, who died at the scene, and a truck driver from California who was not injured. A man faces murder charges after the bodies of his girlfriend and 2 other people were found buried in northeast Oklahoma. Court documents show 61-year-old Robert Edwin Lewis of Stillwell faces 3 first-degree murder charges. Authorities found the bodies of his girlfriend, Deanna Tippie of Cherokee County, Oklahoma, and Quinley Lamb and Brian Shackelford from Sharp County, Arkansas on Friday and Saturday. The discovery came after Lamb's brother and Lewis's ex-girlfriend reported that they had found 1 body on land owned by Lewis. Court documents do not list an attorney who could speak on Lewis's behalf. The Newton County Sheriff's Office seized around 60 dogs from a home. Authorities say the dogs were in poor condition, lacking proper shelter, food, and water. Several cats were also rescued. The Joplin Humane Society and Diamond Fire Department brought food and water for the animals. They will be taken to St. Louis for treatment and care. Criminal charges for the owners are being considered. The winter weather is here, and staying safe is your #1 priority. And we spoke with a couple of different experts on how to get ready for the winter storm. Both offered the same top tip. If you don't have to go out, don't. But not everyone can stay home. So if you do have to go out, we first got some tips on how to get your car ready. Rick Nixon with Nixon's Garage recommends all season or winter rated tires as they're specially designed to drive in snowy weather. Being able to see is also key, so he says you'll want to make sure you have an ice scraper handy. Another key item is to check on your car is the wiper blades. If they're not in good shape, they won't do you any good. It's probably the most common thing. And of course, make sure your defroster is working to help keep your windshield clear. Before you do any of that, there are other key tips to keep in mind.
Well, the first thing we should do is check that antifreeze and make sure that we have a strong enough antifreeze mix to protect the car from the lower temperatures. That would be first. The second thing will be to set the tire pressures. Let's make sure they're set to the manufacturer's specification, which is on the driver's side door jamb on most cars.
Nixon says with most newer cars, it's not necessary to add any weight to them. But if you have front wheel drive, you can add some weight to the back to help with steering around curves. And once you get your car ready, driving in the unpleasant weather becomes the next obstacle. So we spoke with Mark Box, a driving instructor with the Alliance of Southwest Missouri, to find out some of the important things you need to know. Box says one of the key things is to make sure you have a full tank of gas. You also want to have an emergency kit, warm clothing, and blankets just in case. And if possible, drive a vehicle with either front wheel drive or four-wheel drive. He also wants to remind you that if you have four-wheel drive, that doesn't mean you can stop faster. If you hit a slick spot, he's got some advice for that as well.
Once you do get out on the road, remember if you start sliding, always steer the direction you want your car to go. So if you're sliding sideways, you steer right back towards your lane. Do not hit your brakes when you're in a slide. It loses your ability to steer your vehicle.
Buck says if you have a teen driver and you have to be out, you can also use this as a learning experience by teaching them how to drive safely in winter weather, but only if you're comfortable doing so. Area departments of transportation are getting ready to treat the roads to keep them safe. KDOT says they have more than 100 trucks throughout the district ready to go. Officials say they will not be treating the roads until the rain stops so that it doesn't get washed away. KDOT does have staff shortages in some places, but officials say they will be ready to go regardless.
We prepare as well as we can. As I said, we're trying to be proactive. Less than ideal conditions in certain respects, again, but we've been out in hundreds of storms before, so we feel ready.
It's 5:07.
All right, KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. Go to our closings page, and that'll give you a complete list of government institutions, organizations, businesses, and of course, probably most important to all of you watching right now, schools that are closed of note, Missouri Southern, Pittsburgh State, both done for the day, for our obvious reasons. Now, I'm going to take time this morning too. We're gonna look at a couple of cameras that we have here. And this is right on I-44, mile marker number 4. So right there at the Oklahoma-Missouri state line. And Tanya, the reason I point this out is normally we see traffic, booking along. I just want to show how slow everybody's going, thank goodness, but also too, you just don't see a whole lot of cars out there. Look at that right there. See that truck? Like that thing's probably going about 40 miles an hour right there on I-44. So that gives you an indication about, the danger that we're talking about because of the ice that we're seeing. That purple right there indicating that freezing rain that is just going to settle down on not only 44, but also portions of 49, really from, say, the Joplin 44-49 exchange all the way up to about Lamar. So I need everybody aware of that as well. Of course, we know that we've got the winter storm warning that is all-encompassing throughout the Midwest. Still looking at 6 to 10 inches of snow before this thing is done, because even though we get an afternoon break from our snow, we're going to reload, we're going to roll more snow all the way into Thursday morning.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Joplin faces off against Carthage, and some basketball. We'll have the results of that game. Plus, the law says you have to be 21 years old to cross state lines if you're driving a semi. However, the Department of Transportation wants to change that. Stick with us and we'll tell you why they want to do so. And despite their best efforts to keep COVID away from the Olympics, a U.S. Olympic member catches it while inside the bubble that China has set up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Associates.
Carthage Tigers, Joplin Eagles. They've been two of the best boys basketball teams in the 4 states all season long. Carthage, 15-3 through 18 games. Joplin, 13-5. Two teams squaring off in Carthage last night, the one and only scheduled meeting this season. Now Carthage is down 3. That is until that man right there, Justin Ray, knocks down the deep ball, ties it up. Later in the quarter, Max Templeman, reverse. Tigers lead by 4 after 1. Second quarter, Joplin starts to use their size. Terrence Gibson, he had 8 in the second quarter, 12 in the first half alone. Eagles up 1 at halftime. Early fourth, here's our man always right, doing what he does. He finishes with 13 points. But the other end, Joel Pugh, gets Carthage within 1. 5 minutes left. Now we're down to 2 minutes left to play. Still down 1. Clay Kinder, corner 3, Tigers up 2. Kinder had 17 last night. Final seconds, Eagles down 1. Right drives. Terrence Gibson, clean it up. Game winner. Joplin wins it. Gibson finishes with 16, a thriller. This Joplin wins it 46-45. In the girls' game, it was also Joplin taking that one 47-36. Brooke Nice, she led the Eagles with 15 points. Ella Hafer, I know that last name. She had 14. Bryn Driver, she added 12. Missouri Southern men have won 3 games in a row. They're now 8-4 in the MIAA, and Southern hitting the road, aiming to keep that streak alive and knock off one of the best teams in the country, Lions in Maryville, Missouri, facing 4th-ranked Northwest Missouri State. A tight one early. Wes Dreamer with a 3-pointer as the Bearcats take an early lead, but the Lions have a response. His name is Alex Jones. Straight away 3-pointer makes it a 2-point game. Missouri Southern battling. Winston Desisau, he had 11. Christian Bundy down low. Give me that and give me the foul. 9.6 rebounds for Bundy. Right before the break, Stan Scott. Oh, that's a filthy crossover. He led Southern with 16, but there's a reason that Northwest is ranked 4th in the nation, because they are too much in the end, and they win this thing 82-71, your final score. Yesterday was also day 2 of the Mercy Warrior Classic. Takes place at McCully Catholic High School in Joplin. Had a pair of Joplin schools, in fact, squaring off in round 1. Thomas Jefferson hit the floor against College Heights. Winner of this one moves on to the tournament semifinals. Early on, Libby Fanning. Watch this spin move. My goodness, that's smooth as can be. She had 6 for College Heights in the first quarter. Jaylee Johnson going to work, finds Addie Lawrence. Lawrence with the 3-pointer. And then Johnson herself this time, up in foul. Cougars up double digits after the first quarter. Second quarter, Cavs get it going with Tana Griggs. Nice drive in the bucket. Then the final seconds of the half, Sarah Muller beats the buzzer for TJ. College Heights would maintain that lead and roll on and win it 55-41. Also opening day of the baseball season. That's right, baseball season for Missouri Southern. Starting things off on the road against Southwestern Oklahoma State. Now the Lions gave up 8 runs in the 5th inning, going to fall 13-6 for a final. But a freshman and Webb City High School product, Tragan Parker, went 1 for 3 with a double, his first career RBI for Missouri Southern. So congratulations to Tragan on that college feat. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, new ancient relics have been uncovered in Italy, letting archaeologists peek into Italy's past just a little bit more, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
At Affordable Dentures and
Roll through this mess on our hands that we have on this Wednesday morning, and the big factor is going to be what we see right here on the Skywatch storm tracker. It's that, bingo, got you, Dylan. It's going to be that freezing rain that we see there in the purple. That is really our key area right now. Everything that we see to the north of that has transitioned over to snow. Now remember, even though we've got snow up to the north, there is still ice sitting underneath that. But this is going to continue. This is ice accretion, if you will. So that's simply a fancy name for the buildup of ice, is indicated there in the purple. The pink that we see, that's also a transitional period where we're going to see some sleet that will eventually turn into ice. But it's really this portion of the 4 states in the purple where we've got the freezing rain still coming down, and that ice will continue to build up. As we transition over to KOAMnewsnow.com, remember, that is your one source for all your complete closings, whether it be organizations, churches, government activities, businesses, and of course, schools. Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State are obviously our 2 big ones canceled for the day. As we get into the afternoon hours, the snow continues to build. A look at our updated forecast snow amounts. Still looking at 6 to 10 for that area there in the darker blue with the majority of the 4 states, because as everything transitions into snow here in the next 2 hours, it will continue all the way through tonight into Thursday morning. Time now to talk about our KOAM News Now Instapoll. Department of Transportation has a plan that hopefully can help fix some of those supply chain issues that we talk about every morning. It involves getting more truck drivers on the road, but to make this work, they're going to have to make some big changes. Austin Wetfall is at the Wando Welch Terminal near Charleston, South Carolina. It happens to be one of the largest ports on the East Coast.
In many states, people 18 years and older can already drive trucks within state lines, but if they want to drive trucks over state lines, then they need to be at least 21 years old. A new program is aiming to change that.
We see 6,000 truck missions, or about 3,500 trucks a day.
Those who run this 300-acre terminal in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, call it a maritime ballet of loading and unloading trucks and ships.
A lot of ports have been affected, including ours. It's hit different ports at different times.
The COO of South Carolina Ports, Barbara Melvin, says the ballet is only possible when the terminal is flowing well, which can be tough during a national trucker shortage. Omar Asby works with local trucker schools.
The apprenticeship program is not the sole answer to it, but it'll help it out.
A pilot program proposed by the U.S. Department of Transportation will lower the age limit for interstate truckers from 21 to 18, but only after younger drivers have completed probationary hours with a mentor. The Georgia Port Authority agrees this is a good idea.
I am fully confident there's an untapped workforce out there that we should be using.
As of late last year, the American Trucking Association said the country was short 80,000 drivers, which is an all-time high for the industry. Some, like the Trucker Safety Coalition, have shared concerns that interstate travel is a big responsibility for 18-year-olds.
Don't forget about the fact that they have to go through all these hours of training before they even set free.
South Carolina Ports says this extra training will help weed out people who aren't up to the task. The new program is already running, but Asby says they aren't expecting to see a significant improvement in the trucker shortage immediately, because it will take a while to train the new, young workforce.
You won't really see a lot of 18-year-olds driving, because by the time they get done with our program, they'll be 20, 21.
Since it can take years to train, SC Port says it wouldn't mind if they started seeing people as young as 16 years old start to become interested in learning how to truck. That way they can train up for a couple years, and then they can hit the ground running as soon as they turn 18. In Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, Austin Westfall, Fox News.
Quick side note, I just got a reading of 3.5 inches up in Lyon County, and it's still snowing. 3.5 inches, and here we are at 5:24. Our question to you this morning, do you think 18-year-olds should be allowed to drive semis across state lines? Let us know by going either to our Facebook page or straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
With 4 strips of crispy bacon and feed your happy.
Topping Health Watch this morning, star U.S. bobsledder Ilana Myers-Taylor, a 3-time Olympic medalist, says she has tested positive for COVID-19 inside Beijing's Olympic bubble. She's now in isolation and at a hotel. China is determined to have a COVID-free Winter Olympics, but organizers reported 24 new COVID cases overnight, most of them new arrivals at the airport. Athletes and Olympic officials will spend the games in a so-called closed loop. It's designed to keep them as far apart from the general public as possible. Jamie Yukas is in Beijing to cover the Winter Games.
Rehearsals continue for what promises to be colorful opening ceremonies on Friday. But as the athletes and others arrive, so does anxiety and concern. Can China really pull off a COVID-free games?
It's scary because you put in 4 years since the last games, and for all of that to go to waste in the last week, last couple days.
Organizers are banking on a closed loop or bubble after a series of rigorous testing and health checks. The idea is to keep all Olympic participants separate from the general Chinese population and adhere to masking, distancing, and once-a-day testing. But today, 24 new positive results, 18 of those coming from new arrivals at the airport. Anyone testing positive heads into isolation after the result is confirmed. No exit until you're deemed safe. For instance, asymptomatic positive cases would need 2 consecutive negative tests 24 hours apart. American curler Chris Ply says the stress is palpable.
In terms of the COVID protocols, I know there's been a lot of anxiety for people getting into China.
You know, mentally leading up to this games was probably the hardest part.
Unlike in Tokyo last summer, all participants must be vaccinated or submit to a 21-day quarantine.
Once you're through it and you're in the village in the closed loop, you realize actually you're in a very safe place.
Epidemiologist Dr. Brian McCloskey heads the IOC panel advising China on protocols.
Can you tell me, in your best case scenario, what does it look like a week from now, 2 weeks from now, and closing ceremonies?
As there are fewer new people coming into the system, the positivity rate will probably go down. But what we need to do is make sure we keep an eye on that on a daily, twice daily basis.
Despite recent positive tests, the U.S. Olympic team does boast a 100% vaccination rate, a far cry from Tokyo 2020. For those of you looking forward to the games, competition will begin today as U.S. curling and the luge get underway. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Freezing line right now dropping below I-44. We've got the snow-rain mix, the old wintry mix, the dreaded words right there indicated in purple. We'll break down our snow totals and our road conditions right after this.
Chances are you probably aren't a roofing contractor. Neither is your neighbor, nor your co.
Coming up, 3 bodies found on an Oklahoma man's property leads to his arrest.
Snow-covered roads with ice underneath them, leading to treacherous morning conditions. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And preparing your car to drive in hazardous conditions is one way to keep yourself safe over the next couple of days. We'll have tips for you on how to do just that.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories and tips in just a minute. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Before we get to our closings, Tanya, I want to go to the Skywatch Storm Tracker, concentrate on this purple area because that's where we're seeing the mix of the freezing rain and the snow. And that's going to be the most treacherous travel conditions. But even as we move up to the north right there where it is all snow right now, and we've got as much as 3 inches, 3.5 inches in the far northern portion of the 4 states, and we've still got an entire day of snow to go. Remember, there's ice underneath that, so it's dangerous driving pretty much no matter where you go. We're watching people from our tower cameras inch along on both I-44 and I-49. As we transition down to the south, the freezing line, it may have dipped down to the south, but eventually all the precip goes south with it. As we transition over to KOAMNewsNow.com, a complete list of closings for you, whether it be your colleges, your schools, your government organizations, your businesses, and your churches. That is your one-stop resource to find out what's open and what is not. And I can tell you, most everything just about shut down for today. Temperatures right now, the freezing point dipping below I-44, an indicator that we've got probably about 15 to 20 degrees to go as we drop throughout the course of our day. Here's a look at 7th and Rangeline right now where the snow is actually eased up just a little bit. It's been a morning full of snowplows just rolling continuously through the intersection. Please give them plenty of room, give them the right of way, as they got important jobs to do. We get a break this afternoon. It's a temporary break, and after we see that clear off right there, say about 3:30, 4 o'clock, we reload from the southwest, and we've got additional snowfall that works through from Wednesday night all the way into Thursday morning. And here's the thing, that snow and ice is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So if we've already picked up, say, that 3.5 up to the north, that's where we see that 8 to 12 that it will fall before we're done on Thursday. Everybody in the dark blue looking at 6 to 10, a combination of the sleet and the snow, and a 7-day forecast with single-digit overnight low temperatures.
All right. Well, do your best to stay safe.
We are in the midst of it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that winter storm warning, it lasts all the way to Friday. It's Wednesday morning.
Still coming down. We're
it's
just
Wednesday
getting started
morning.
on it now.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. All right, be safe out there. Well, a man faces murder charges after the bodies of his girlfriend and 2 other people were found buried in northeast Oklahoma. Court documents show 61-year-old Robert Edwin Lewis of Stillwell faces 3 first-degree murder charges. Authorities found the bodies of his girlfriend Deanna Tippie of Cherokee County, Oklahoma, and Quinley Lamb and Brian Shackelford from Sharp County, Arkansas on Friday, Saturday. The discovery came after Lamb's brother and Lewis's ex-girlfriend reported that they'd found one body on land owned by Lewis. Court documents do not list an attorney who could speak on Lewis's behalf. Now, compared to the past couple of snows we've had, this one will have had a bigger impact on the area. The number one recommendation to stay safe is to simply stay at home. However, if you do have to be out there, there are things you can do. Rick Nixon with Nixon's Garage says the first thing you should do is check your antifreeze and make sure it's a strong enough mix to protect your car from the lower temperatures. The second thing is making sure your tire pressures are good, and he says to follow what's listed on the driver door panel for appropriate pressures for your car. Nixon says there's other things to take into consideration.
I would be thinking about something to scrape the windows with. Let's get those nice and clean. We want to look at maybe our wiper blades, make sure we got wiper blades that are going to help keep it clean. And of course, we want to make sure our defrost is working to help keep, again, visibility, keep that windshield clean.
Nixon adds, when it comes to your tires, all season or winter rated tires are best for this kind of weather. City of Neosho says it's prepared for winter weather. City officials say all of their trucks are ready for snow removal, and their salt brine truck is up and ready to fight back against ice accumulations on the roads.
So it's very important. Without the transportation routes, things don't move. The shipping's not been made available. Emergency vehicles aren't able to get to where they need to go. We're typically, Public Works is typically the group that's working in the background, but we take our job very seriously, and we've got great.
If needed, crews are prepared to work 2 nonstop rotations of 12-hour shifts until roads are drivable. Appreciate you can tell they've been out there. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
All right, Tanya, let's do road conditions here. We talked about the radar. Radar is not going to change. It's going to be rather stagnant. But one thing that is going to deteriorate are going to be our travel conditions. So here we are in Kansas. You'll notice everything in purple, that's going to be partially covered. The blue is going to be completely covered. And so you're going to run into snow no matter where you are. Over on the Missouri map, here's a live look at I-44, mile marker number 4. And yes, it's not the best shot in the world, but the reason I show this is normally we'd see people ticking along at 75 miles per hour. So it gives you an idea that we are at a snail's pace right now. We can shut that down and then talk about what we're looking at as far as our road coverage. And you see 44 and 49, they are indicated with covered or partially covered. And especially as you work to the north, you'll notice everything in the purple. That means fully covered roads. If you have to get out, I completely understand. If that's part of your job responsibility, just do us all a favor. Make sure you get out very, very early, especially on 44 and 49, because that's where we're seeing the mix of the freezing rain. The freezing rain is dominating right now. Portions of 44 really on a line, say, from Tulsa all the way up to Joplin. That's what I got. Do you want to see it? Well, no, you paused on me there. I'm like, okay, here, Tanya, let me show you. Here, transition over to, yeah, here you go. Look at this. This is that line I'm talking about. See that? From Tulsa all the way up to Joplin, indicated in purple. That's your freezing rate.
You want to be careful.
I'm
out
not
there on the
worried
roads.
about the morning talker. I'm worried about keeping people safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll skip that next story. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Today is Groundhog Day, but how will it go if the weather predicting groundhogs has passed away? Not sure what that means. Stick with us and we'll tell you how. Plus, Muslim women in India have found themselves up for sale on a fake auction, causing upset and worry in the community. Stick with us and we'll have why this is going on. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Drumline Live.
Topping World Watch, outrage in India over the listing of Muslim women for sale on fake auctions. This has been happening more than once in recent months. CNN's Vidika Sood has the details.
In the last 6 months, Indian Muslim women have been targeted twice through apps where they've been listed for fake auction. The first incident emerged in July last year. The second was as recent as January. While the outrage has prompted quick action, police is investigating whether this incident is part of a larger conspiracy. I speak to two Muslim women about their ordeal and why they think they have been targeted. Arfa Khanum says she will never forget New Year's Day. Khanum, an Indian journalist, became part of the biggest headline in the country. Along with at least 100 other Muslim women, including journalists and activists, Khanum's photograph, sourced without her consent, and her Twitter handle were posted online, offering her for sale in a fake auction.
I was numb. And I can't say I was scared. I was still trying to make sense of what was happening. For several hours, I did not know how to process this, how to kind of internalize it, how to react to it.
Khanum says she's been targeted for questioning rising Hindu nationalism under Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's governance.
I feel it is a part of their strategy to actually attack those women who are political, who are outspoken, who are brave, who are critical of this government's socio-political, economic policies, and women like me who are political journalists who report from New Delhi and report on Narendra Modi's government.
25-year-old Khadija Khan, a lawyer and journalist, says she was horrified to find her details on the same website called Bully Bai, a derogatory term for Muslim women.
I realized that the message that they were trying to send is that, okay, we will debase you, we will degrade you, we will humiliate you until you silence or until you cow down.
India's technology minister tweeted to say the Indian government is working with the police.
Archaeologists in southern Italy discovered ancient historical items at a dig site. Along with warrior helmets, the team unearthed remains of a building, vases with a Greek inscription for sacred, metal fragments of possible weapons, the Italian Culture Ministry confirmed. Site is located in Velia, which was part of Magna Graecia, the area of southern Italy colonized by Greek city-states. Ministry said the discoveries prove how important investing in archaeological research is. Royal Canadian Mounted Police move in on a blockade at the U.S. border in Alberta on Tuesday. Since Saturday, commercial truckers and others have been protesting COVID-19 mandates imposed last month by both Canada and the U.S. by blocking the highway. Big rigs are parked across lanes horizontally, stopping traffic in both directions and other vehicles, and campers are parked haphazardly in the median. The blockade mirrors similar protests countrywide and in Ottawa over the past week. RCMP says in a statement the blockade could prevent emergency vehicles from getting by, obviously, and it also has negatively impacted the flow of goods and services as well as the public's freedom of movement. Police said late Monday they had been negotiating without success to end the illegal protest and are prepared to make arrests and tow vehicles if necessary. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know. before you head out the door.
Washburn from home.
Sadly enough, there'll be no celebration today in Milltown, New Jersey. Milltown Mel, the groundhog from New Jersey, passed away just before Groundhog Day. Briella Tomasetti has more on the story.
Every February, hundreds of onlookers flock to the American Legion Pavilion trying to catch a glimpse of local celebrity Milltown Mel, hoping the giant rodent doesn't see his shadow.
The shadows have fled. Brighter days ahead.
But this year, Groundhog Day just won't be the same. The borough's beloved fixture has sadly passed away. And without Mel, there won't be a celebration, at least for this year.
And we just said, you know what, we just can't do it this year. We can't do it the day before. It takes a lot of planning.
Milltown Mel's death was announced on Facebook in a short note reading in part, "We are sad to report that Milltown Mel has crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. We tried everywhere to get a stand-in, but to no avail."
It's a tragedy. It's a big thing in Milltown, like the 4th of July. This is a huge event here, and we get people from all over.
He's just more local. He feels like he's ours. So he'll be sadly missed.
The annual tradition was started back in 2009 by the former owners of this local funeral home. But Mel has lived on its property since 2017.
Back in the day, Jerry Gutline and his wife Kathy went to see Punxsutawney Phil and just liked the tradition and wanted to bring it back here to Milltown.
One thing's for certain, just about everyone around here will remember Mel's name and the legacy he leaves behind.
We love this town, and it shows in all the different events that we do in this little town that people from all around come to.
I know Michael is very upset about this. This story's really been bothering him, but I'll just have to say, at least he still has Punxsutawney Phil. Well, Mel's handlers say they're working hard to find a new weather forecaster. In the meantime, they're ready to hear what his cousins, Punxsutawney Phil and the Staten Island Chuck, have to say. We'll be right back.
Your cash. Give your eyes a second to adjust there. Look at the bottom of the screen. You can see the snow blowing in sideways over 7th and Rangeline. Remember, underneath the snow, we have ice-covered roads. We're looking at anywhere about 1/4 of an inch of accumulation as far as ice goes alone. When it comes to snowfall, still going to sit about 6 to 10 for the majority of the 4 states in that dark blue area, 6 to 8 in the Joplin area. Most importantly, though, it is the ice. Multiple reports of spin-offs, and we'll break down the radar here when we come back right after this.
We're here to help.
Coming up, 3 bodies found on an Oklahoma man's property leads to his arrest.
Snow already piling up in the 4 states, and we've got ice underneath it. We'll talk about road conditions from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And preparing your car to drive in hazardous conditions is one way to keep yourself safe over the next couple of days. We'll have tips for you on how to do just that.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Best driving tip for today? Stay inside.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's we've got multiple reports of spin-offs from numerous sheriff's departments across the 4 states, no matter what state you're in. We've already got the accident reports that are beginning to take shape. Give you a live look over 7th and Rangeline. If you can tell there in the street light, you'll see the snow coming in sideways. That is still got some freezing rain in it throughout Joplin as well. We've seen it transition over to snow here at Television City, but if you just get to the south of us, that's still the freezing variety, and so that ice will continue to accumulate. Let's jump over to the radar and the Skywatch Weather Center, the Skywatch Storm Tracker. The purple, that is indicative of the freezing rain as far as what we've got up to the north. It has transitioned into snow, but really it's going to be those problematic areas because you'll notice along 44, stretching pretty much from Tulsa all the way up to Joplin, that is going to be where the ice continues to pile up. That being said, if we transition over to our road conditions, you're not going to find a state that really is not problematic. There we are in the state of Missouri, and we'll kind of point out I-49 and I-44 that you'll see are either covered and as you work, partially covered, I guess, on the way from really Carthage, the Carthage Exchange up to Springfield, mostly covered from Joplin to the Oklahoma state line. And then as you work up 49 and any of the side roads, of course, completely covered. at this point in time. And Kansas, pretty much the same. We're talking about partially covered to completely covered. So don't think you're going to find anything that's clear. And remember, it's the ice underneath everything that poses the problem. Then you can flip on over to KOAMnewsnow.com. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. That will give you a complete list of closings, whether it be for businesses, government organizations, any meetings that you may have, and of course, importantly, our schools, Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State, done for the day. And our 7-day forecast shows you that everything is going to stick around. Tanya, it's going to be a little bit deceiving because this afternoon, say about 3, 4 o'clock, we're actually going to get a break from our snow. It's going to feel like, okay, we're done. Like, we can relax. That's not going to be the case. We're going to revamp and reload and roll this again for this afternoon through the evening, all the way into Thursday morning.
All right, well, and it's going to be cold, really cold.
And it's funny because I think I've been radar watching for hours on end now, and I haven't even thought about that. Yes, I look at that and I go, oh yeah, that on top of it. You're exactly right. Yeah, it's.
We're talking about a lot of driving tips and things that you can do to prepare your car and whatnot. One thing I noticed that we're not mentioning, there's a lot of bridges out there.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, bridges are dangerous when it's icy because they don't have that ground protection under them to keep the road warm.
Take your foot off the accelerator. Know your bridges. Thank you for saying this. I greatly appreciate you. Take your foot off the accelerator.
And don't put it on the brake.
Don't put it on the brake.
I've ridden as a passenger in a vehicle with way too many people who think that as soon as you hit a bridge, you hit a brake.
No.
That is the absolute worst thing to do.
We cruise.
Yes, just take it off the
gas. We slow down before it.
Let yourself go through it.
And we ease through it. Thank you.
Yes.
Great point.
There you go.
Great point.
Driving Lessons 101 from Michael and Tanya.
From you. You brought it up. You're the one that thought about it.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the winter weather is here and staying safe is your #1 priority, and we spoke with a couple of different experts on how to be ready for the winter storm. Both offered the same top tip. If you don't have to go out, don't. But not everyone can stay home, so if you do have to go out, we've got some tips on how to get your car ready first. Rick Nixon with Nixon's Garage recommends all-season or winter-rated tires as they're specially designed to drive in the snowy weather. Might be too late for that. That's okay. Being able to see is also key. He says you'll want to make sure you have an ice scraper handy. Know where it is. Another key item is to check on your car is the wiper blades. If they're not in good shape, they won't do you any good. I left mine popped up while I'm in here right now. And of course, make sure your defroster is working to help keep your windshield clear. Before you do any of that, there's some other key tips to keep in mind.
Well, the first thing we should do is check that antifreeze and make sure that we have a strong enough antifreeze mix to protect the car from the lower temperatures. That would be first. The second thing would be to set the tire pressures. Let's make sure they're set to the manufacturer's specification, which is on the driver's side door jamb on most cars.
Nixon says with most newer cars, it's not necessary to add any weight to them, but if you have front wheel drive, you can add some weight to the back to help with steering around curves. Now, once you get your car ready, driving in the unpleasant weather becomes the next obstacle. So we spoke with Mark Box, a driving instructor with the Alliance of Southwest Missouri, to find out some of the most important things you need to know. Now, Box says one of the key things is to make sure you have a full tank of gas. You'll also want to have an emergency kit, warm clothing and blankets just in case. And if possible, drive a vehicle with either front-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. He also wants to remind you that if you have four-wheel drive, that doesn't mean you can stop faster. If you hit a slick spot, he's got some advice for that as well.
Once you do get out on the road, remember if you start sliding, always steer the direction you want your car to go. So if you're sliding sideways, you steer right back towards your lane. Do not hit your brakes when you're in a slide. It loses your ability to steer your vehicle.
Box says if you have a teen driver and you have to be out, you can also use this as a learning experience by teaching them how to drive safely in winter weather, but only if you're comfortable doing so. That's a great idea, though. Area departments of transportation are getting ready to treat the roads to keep them safe. Well, they were last night anyway. KDOT says they have more than 100 trucks throughout the district ready to go. Officials say they didn't start treating the roads until the rain stopped so that it wouldn't get washed away. KDOT does have staff shortages in some places, but officials say they are ready to go regardless.
we prepare as well as we can. As I said, we're trying to be proactive. Less than ideal conditions in certain respects, again, but we've been out in hundreds of storms before, so we feel ready.
An Ohio man is dead after a crash in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. It happened on I-44 about 10 miles east of Miami. The crash involved William Arthrell, who died at the scene, and a truck driver from California who was not injured. A man faces murder charges after the bodies of his girlfriend and 2 other people are found buried in northeast Oklahoma. Court documents show 61-year-old Robert Edwin Lewis of Stillwell faces 3 first-degree murder charges. Authorities found the bodies of his girlfriend Deanna Tippie of Cherokee County, Oklahoma, and Quinley Lamb and Brian Shackelford from Sharp County, Arkansas on Friday and Saturday. The discovery came after Lamb's brother and Lewis's ex-girlfriend reported they'd found one body on land owned by Lewis. Court documents do not list an attorney who could speak on Lewis's behalf. Newton County Sheriff's Office seizes around 60 dogs from a home. Authorities say the dogs were in poor condition, lacking proper shelter, food, and water. Several cats were also rescued. The Joplin Humane Society and Diamond Fire Department brought food and water for the animals. They will be taken to St. Louis for treatment and care. Criminal charges for the owners are being considered. Well, today marks the 135th observation of Groundhog Day at Gobbler's Knob in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania. As you know, if a groundhog comes out of its hole on this day and sees its shadow, it gets scared and runs back into the hole. Well, it's supposed to. And that means it's predicting 6 more weeks of weather. If it doesn't see its shadow, we've got an early spring. Groundhog Day has its roots in the older tradition of Candlemas, when clergy would bless and distribute candles needed for the winter. The candles represented how long and cold winter would be. The Germans added an animal, the hedgehog, to the tradition until they came to America. The groundhog proved to be a much more abundant animal in the Keystone State. In case you were wondering, the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray was released February 12th, 1993. Great movie.
Visibility is going to become an issue. I can tell that right now. I was hoping that was not going to be the case, but that wind is really picking up. So there we are on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Purple, the most dangerous area, because that is the freezing rain. And here's why I paused right there, because I was kind of locked into this picture. Coming down sideways. I wish we had a little bit more clarity here, but I'm going to tell you from a larger view of it that our visibility is dropping over 7th and Rangeline because it is blowing that freezing rain from north to south. So we're going to have to put up with that on top of the slick roads, as we already have multiple reports of accidents across the 4 states. I need everybody to give yourself plenty of time to slow down, or your best bet today, if you are able to stay inside, that may be the best thing to do.
Definitely no sunshine here in the 4 states, creating shadows that certain set
The
animal
least
could
of
see.
the rodent is the least of our worries today. That is for sure.
If I was him, he wouldn't even want to come out of his hole. That's for
You
sure.
what?
He wouldn't even want to come out of his hole. Too cold.
No, and I wouldn't blame him. if he were just like, no, can we, like, if he'd look at the 7-day forecast, he'd be like, can we do this Tuesday?
Yeah. Hey, if it means early spring for us after this week, I'll take it.
Yeah, would that? No, you're right. That would be nice.
All right, thanks.
All right, hey, Arc City up to, and I know it's not in our area. Just got a new report though. Arc City is going with 3/10 of an inch of ice.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, wow.
Wonder if there's any ice melt left at the stores.
You know, it's interesting. I went to go buy ice melt yesterday for a friend. Not for me, because you'd be like, Michael, how come you didn't get any? You knew it was coming. Not that. I tried to pick some up. 2 places I went to, sold out.
Oh.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised by it. Like.
Yeah. You know what else they were out of? A lot of, I was at the grocery store yesterday. It was amazing how they were trying to restock everything over and over again, but no lettuce to be found.
Yeah. Now we've got sleet in Carthage, Missouri.
All right.
We got sleet coming down in Carthage.
Once again, if you can stay home, now's the time to do it.
Right.
All right, if you have to get out, give yourself extra time. All right, thank you. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, federal investigators look into a string of bomb threats at America's historically black colleges. Plus, there's another impact of the global pandemic, this time in the form of medical waste. We'll take a look. And the FDA prepares to make a decision on COVID vaccines for young children. But some parents have questions. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Feel the thrill.
Nation Watch this morning, federal investigators are looking into a series of bomb threats at multiple historically black colleges and universities. There were at least 6 threats on Monday morning, disrupting campus operations and launching police investigations. Joe Johns reports.
Investigators believe that numerous threats throughout the area and throughout the nation were coming in, targeting several historically black colleges and universities.
Tonight, the nation's historically black colleges and universities are on alert. From Louisiana to Georgia to Maryland to Delaware, at least 18 HBCUs have had class disruptions in the past 2 days due to bomb threats. No explosives have been found.
It's most unsettling for the students to have to address this. So the emotional, mental health and well-being of our students is of concern.
The barrage of threats and the campus disruption they caused garnering national attention, including from the White House.
We are working in close coordination with our law enforcement authorities and ensuring that the leaders of these institutions and the students know that we are watching closely and that we are standing with them as they face these threats.
State and local law enforcement approaching the problem on a case-by-case basis. Spelman College and Atlanta telling CNN city police will increase their patrols around campus. This wave of bomb threats, the latest in a string that began in early January. The FBI announcing investigations are ongoing with other law enforcement agencies, including the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Lawmakers also taking the threat seriously, with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff and Counterterrorism Subcommittee Chairman Congressman Andre Carson releasing a joint statement saying, "We will remain focused on ensuring that all appropriate resources are utilized to combat the scourge of white supremacist violence and terrorism." The motive is not clear, but on the first day of Black History Month, some of these administrators want to send a very clear message of their own.
We're here, we've been here for over 150 years providing education, outstanding, excellent education to our students, and that's our mission. So no, we will not be deterred.
Well, at least 3 other HBCs were targeted with bomb threats on January 5th. Howard University was one of them, but according to university officials, nothing was found on any of the campuses. Let's a look at today's top national story. We'll be right back.
At Affordable Dental.
Got a mess on our hands out there as we find ourselves just past 6:17. Still a perfect time for weather on the 7s and a perfect time to find a reason to stay at home if you can. We've got multiple reports of accidents and slide-offs throughout all 4 of our states right now. Live look outside of 7th and Rangeline is where we find this live picture with the snow. It's mainly freezing rain still coming down in portions of Joplin. Throughout Carthage, most of Jasper County, in fact, involved in that freezing rain right now. You got to get up to the north on 49 to find where it transitions over into snow, so that ice will continue to build up, and not only that, coming down about sideways, and the temperatures will continue to drop throughout the morning. 24 degrees is where we find ourselves with a wind chill of 13. Here's a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. We'll remove the cloud cover, give us a better indication there. The purple is going to be the wintry mix, those 2 dreaded words that, build up the ice, especially along 44. Look at that. We're running from just east of Tulsa all the way up the interstate through Miami, into Joplin, up to the 44-49 exchange. And then as we push to the north, by the time you get up to Lamar, it turns into snow. As far as what we're seeing in southeast Kansas, majority of that is snow, but of course that's where the ice hit first. So that's going to be treacherous driving as well. Transition into the eastern part of southwest Missouri, where we've got freezing rain. You get a little bit of a break right there, but don't consider that a break because it's already frozen over on that line to the east of Joplin to Mount Vernon, and then we pick it right back up from Mount Vernon into Springfield. And if you got to go down to the south, Eventually, everything through northwest Arkansas will turn over into the freezing rain as well. That's going to be our key word for today. Freezing rain, freezing rain, freezing rain. You'll also notice visibility numbers are dropping because that wind coming in from the northeast, double digits, and that's why it's blowing sideways. We've got 90 million people right now that are under winter storm watches or warnings, and of course that includes all the 4 states, but a rather impressive number, 90 million people. Ranging from east of the Rockies right through us and then up through the Tennessee River Valley, then to the Ohio River and up to the Great Lakes. So it gives you an idea about our weather trend as our temperatures will pretty much drop throughout the day. The wind chill will continue to drop. Now this afternoon, you'll actually notice as it transitions from the freezing rain into the snow, one thing that'll happen is we'll get a break this afternoon, but don't let your guard down. Don't be deceived by this, because when the break comes, it simply is reloading out to our west. And once we get into the nighttime hours, we're going to do this again for Thursday morning. Thursday is going to be majority of snow, not so much the freezing rain. Forecasted snow amounts really not changing, as we'll keep 6 to 10 inches in the dark blue for the majority of the 4 states, 8 to 12 as you work your way up to the north, a combination of the sleet and the snow lasting until Thursday, and then overnight lows down to single digits for Friday and Saturday. Be back with Health Watch next.
Connect to Culture's Curtains Up series proudly.
Topping Health Watch this morning, big news for little kids. The FDA will be taking a look at data from Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for kids younger than 5 years old. But as Britt Conway reports, there are still a lot of questions and concerns here.
It's one more tool in our armor protecting us against COVID.
Or at least it could be. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for kids 6 months to 5 years old has been submitted to the FDA for emergency use authorization, and the agency's Vaccine Advisory Committee is scheduled to consider it on February 15th. Which means shots could be available for little kids in a matter of weeks. But a new survey shows only about 3 in 10 parents say they'll get their kids in that age group vaccinated right away. That's up slightly from July, but there's clearly still hesitancy here. Something this doctor understands, having 2 young children of her own.
I would wait until we find that the vaccines are safe and effective. And I'm not sure that we can say that at the moment because we just don't have the data.
But a former CDC director is more confident, pointing to the data we already have on vaccines for other age groups.
They work and they're safe.
But he says there are other questions at play.
What the vaccine schedule should be is much more complicated, and that may take months or even years to optimize. It's probably a 3-dose schedule for lots of people, but we really don't know that yet, nor do we know the right interval between doses.
Answers will come from more data, but more data means more time. I'm Britt Conway, reporting.
An experimental type of immunotherapy is showing promise in the treatment of people with metastatic breast cancer. In a clinical trial of 42 women with the hard-to-treat cancer, 67% were able to generate an immune reaction by using their own tumor-fighting immune cells. Study by the Nation Cancer Institute cast doubt on the long-held belief that hormone receptor-positive breast cancers are not susceptible to immunotherapy. A new study finds a link between vaccine hesitancy and childhood trauma. Researchers in the UK found reluctance or refusal to get the COVID-19 shots 3 times higher among people who had experienced 4 or more types of trauma as a child, such as neglect and domestic violence, compared to people who had not experienced any. And package warnings that come with pictures could help cut down on the consumption of sugary drinks, helping reduce child obesity. Researchers at the University of North Carolina set up a mini mart with picture warnings on juices and sodas. They found the warnings reduced parental purchases of sugary drinks for their kids by 17%. Let's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
3.5 inches of snow in the northern portion of the 4 states. Wichita is already sitting at 5 inches. I want to zoom in here and talk about our problematic areas indicated in purple because that's where we have the rain-snow mix, aka the wintry mix, and that's where we're going to get the majority of our ice accumulation, now stretching from Veneta up I-44 through Miami into Joplin. and then making its way up north on I-49 up to Carthage as well. Even that little break, it picks back up in Mount Vernon and last to Springfield. Multiple reports of slide-offs and accidents already throughout the 4 states on this Wednesday morning. Please be safe. Future Track will show us we get a little bit of a break, but after our afternoon break, we are right back at it with additional snowfall that will take us all the way from Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Still looking at 6 to 10 inches with overnight lows in single digits. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, 3 bodies found on an Oklahoma man's property leads to his arrest.
We are part of the 90 million people in our country in the midst of a winter storm warning. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And preparing your car to drive in hazardous conditions is one way to keep yourself safe over the next couple of days. We'll have some other tips for you as well.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, Michael, you have been very busy this morning.
Yeah, like I said, it's not just here. 90 million people are under a winter storm watch or warning, of course. We're in the thick of it right now. We're actually on that far southern tip. And the unfortunate thing about being on that southern tip is the farther north you get, the majority of it remains as snow. They're not receiving the ice that we are. That is our main problem right now. Multiple reports of spin-offs and accidents in all 4 of our states. And here we sit at only 6:30 on a Wednesday morning. On the Skywatch Storm Tracker, the purple area, that is the problematic area because that is the freezing rain that we're seeing. It dominates I-44 right now and even creeps up I-49. From the exchange right there just outside of Joplin on your way to Carthage. Then it picks right back up from Mount Vernon into Springfield. Little shift in the radar, as you can tell it moves from the southwest up to the northeast. As you progress to the north, the mainly has flipped over to snow. Already reports of 3.5 to 4 inches of snow at the 6:30 moment up in our northern counties. So that's no surprise why we say there could be anywhere from 9 to 13 inches in the northern portion of southwest Missouri. Now, I'll give you an idea of what Future Track has in store for us. While we see the freezing rain drop off to the south and it transitions over into snow, we get a little bit of an afternoon break. Don't be deceived by this because we're going to be right back at it for tonight all the way into Thursday morning. Additional snowfall keeps on coming down, so not only will today's driving be problematic, but it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Because on top of the snow being unable to get to the ice below it, and there's a look at your current numbers, nothing is going to be able to melt when we talk about temperatures that will be down around 6 to 3 degrees for Friday night and Saturday night respectively. Even our daily highs having a hard time inching past the freezing mark until we get to next week.
All right, well, a lot going on out right there.
A lot of coffee.
No matter where you're at.
Stay at home if you can, folks.
Yeah, well, even you said like even if we switched over to the snow, you still have that layer of ice.
Right, it's the ice underneath it that you don't see.
That's even more deceiving.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a man faces murder charges after the bodies of his girlfriend and 2 other people are found buried in northeastern Oklahoma. Court documents show 61-year-old Robert Edwin Lewis of Stillwell faces 3 first-degree murder charges. Authorities found the bodies of his girlfriend Deanna Tippie of Cherokee County, Oklahoma, and Quinley Lamb and Brian Shackelford from Sharp County, Arkansas on Friday and Saturday. The discovery came after Lamb's brother and Lewis's ex-girlfriend reported they had found 1 body on land owned by Lewis. Court documents do not list an attorney who could speak on Lewis's behalf. Compared to the past couple of snows we've had, this one's going to have a bigger impact on the area, and the number 1 recommendation to stay safe is to simply stay at home. However, if you do have to be out, there are things you can do. Rick Nixon with Nixon's Garage says, first thing you should do is check your antifreeze and make sure it's a strong enough mix to protect your car from the lower temperatures. The next thing is make sure your tire pressures are good, and he says to follow what's listed on the driver door panel for appropriate pressures for your car. Nixon says there's other things you can take into consideration.
I would be thinking about something to scrape the windows with. Let's get those nice and clean. We want to look at maybe our wiper blades, make sure we got wiper blades that are going to help keep it clean. And of course we want to make sure our defrost is working to help keep, again, visibility, keep that windshield clean.
Nixon adds when it comes to your tires, all season or winter rated tires are best for this kind of weather. Well, you've got your car ready to go, or we hope you do. What about when you're actually out on the road? A driving instructor from the Alliance of Southwest Missouri offered some tips to steer you in the right direction. As we mentioned, the top tip is to simply not go out. But if you are, Mark Buck says it's essential to have a full tank of gas. And you're going to want to have some warm clothing, food, and blankets. Box also says if you must drive, use a front wheel or four-wheel drive vehicle. Leave that rear wheel car at home. He also has a reminder about four-wheel drive.
Just another reminder, four-wheel drive does not mean that you can stop any quicker. So four-wheel drive is only when you're hitting the accelerator does this help you drive.
Box adds, if you do have to leave, make sure you leave early so you can drive safely and arrive at your destination on time. MoDOT is dealing with short staffing. Officials say they plan to have workers on 12-hour shifts to get the job done, and they want to remind drivers to stay away from trucks as they're working to make their jobs easier. MoDOT also plans to wait until after the rain, and they did so, to start treating the roads.
When you get rain to start with, that hurts our ability to put something down and leave it on the road in preparation of the snow and break the bond. But that doesn't mean we won't put some down. Other challenges, traffic is a massive challenge for us.
The city of Neosho says it's prepared for winter weather. City officials say all of their trucks are ready for snow removal, and their salt brine truck is up and ready to fight back against ice accumulations on the roads.
Feels very important. Without the transportation routes, things don't move. Shipping's not been made available. Emergency vehicles aren't able to get to where they need to go. We're typically, Public Works is typically the group that's working in the background, but we take our job very seriously, and we've got great.
If needed, crews are prepared to work 2 nonstop rotations of 12-hour shifts until roads are drivable. On this date in 1990, South African President F.W. de Klerk lifted the 30-year-old ban against the African National Congress. Founded in 1912, the main goal of the African National Congress was voting rights for persons of mixed race and black Africans. The party was banned in 1960 by the white South African government under its policy of apartheid. The lifting of the ban resulted in the subsequent release of Nelson Mandela, who had served 27 years. Mandela and de Klerk worked together to ensure a peaceful transition to non-racial democracy in South Africa. Let's look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, school closures due to the pandemic have not only had an impact on the economy now, but experts are saying it could impact future earnings for children. Plus, one plan to untangle the supply chain knot is to hire more truckers. That could mean addressing the age of eligible truckers. We want to know what you think about teenage truckers. We'll let you weigh in. First, let's check in on our forecast.
So supple caught me.
Yeah, that's what
I know. I'm not gonna lie to you. My head was buried in a weather map, and you said that, and all of a sudden my ears perked up. I'm like, what? What I missed?
I meant supply. I meant supply. The script said supple, but I changed it real quick.
It's okay. Like I said, it caught my attention.
Almost Ron Burgundy'd it.
Like I was out of weather mode. And I'm like, ooh, what story are we doing? Luckily, we have great people like Carrie behind the camera that help me out with the sky camera and whatnot. And she was pointing out the number of snowplows that are out at 7th and Rangeline. So we know our crews are working hard, but also too we know that Mother Nature is hard to overcome. So as we transition over to other Max computer and the Skywatch Storm Tracker, give you an idea about where the freezing rain indicated in purple is right now, really that line from I-44 ranging from Veneta up past Joplin to the 49 Exchange, and then north up I-49 in between Carthage and Lamar. Multiple accident reports already this morning. If you do have to be out and about, take her slow and give yourself probably about twice as long as you would anticipate it taking. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Feel the thrill of fast, reliable internet from Plus.
In Consumer Watch this morning, school closures during the COVID-19 pandemic have had an immense impact on children, and it could affect their potential future earnings. Lydia Hugh has the details.
Missed learning opportunities during the pandemic will cost kids $17 trillion globally in lost earnings over their lifetime. That's according to a recent report from the United Nations and the World Bank. That equals about 14% of today's global GDP. Here's a former member of the Baltimore City Board of Education who's also an economist.
It means that the world is less prepared for its future. There's going to be more poverty, there are going to be more people out of work, and therefore potentially more social instability.
The new estimate of $17 trillion far exceeds the $10 trillion estimate from a year ago, a sign that learning losses are snowballing as closures continue nearly 2 years after the start of the pandemic. In the U.S., more than 7,400 schools were closed to in-person learning 1 or more days during the week of January 10th. And just last week, 2,100 schools were closed 1 or more days. If we look to Flint, Michigan, we see their schools are closing there indefinitely to in-person learning, impacting nearly 4,000 students. And in Cumberland County, New Jersey, middle school and high school students will attend for only a half day for the entire month of February to accommodate teacher shortages.
The good news is experts say the accumulating educational losses can be reversed, but a priority must be set on opening schools full-time for in-person learning and offering supplemental learning through after-school and summer school programming. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning, despite the snow and the ice, we still do have our morning Instapoll and our something to talk about. It's about 18-year-olds being able to drive semis over state lines. That's because supply chain issues that have been going on for months. The DOT, well, they've got a new idea that they think will help ease these issues, and that is lifting the former law stating that if you're 18, you cannot cross state line in a semi. So our question to you is quite simple. Should an 18-year-old truck driver be allowed to cross state lines? But right now, 59% of you say no. Supply chain, sorry, you say no. They should not be allowed to cross state lines. You can take part each and every morning. Either connect to us via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now, or there's your address that goes straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this. But first, a look at what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Come hungry to...
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, William Simons. Tech Sergeant William Simons served in the Air Force from 1944 to 1945 in the Philippine Islands with the 345th Bombardment, 499th Squadron. Tech Sergeant Simons earned the Air Medal with 1 Oak Leaf Cluster, the Philippine Liberation Medal, and the Good Conduct Medal. His hometown, Fort Scott, Kansas. We thank you, William Simons, today's four-state hero.
With a big number 1. His name is Lincoln Beckford. I love that hat.
All right, and Kinsley Hawkins. Happy birthday with love from Mom, Dad, Sissy, and Bubba. Little Kinsley is turning 1 this year.
She's going to be an absolute handful. There's something that says that has innocence about that look.
Because you know what she's about to do as soon as this picture is taken? She's about to take that basket of toys and flip it over.
Yes, that's what it looks like. But here's the thing. Because of that look on her face, because of that look, you can't get mad at her either.
Oh, no. She's a sweetie. Let's see, Briar Thornton celebrating birthday number 4 this year. I'll give you a thumbs up, Briar, in Thayer, Kansas.
In Pittsburgh, Amante Johnson with a big 7th birthday. And Amante, I want you to know that this specifically comes with a happy birthday from your grandmother. Have a great day, kiddo.
Aw, Monte, getting already 7 years old. That's so hard to believe. Happy birthday, Monte. Boston Malika is turning 11 years old this year. Wow, happy birthday, Boston.
Driver's license time. What?
You get a license to drive a boat.
What?
Too. That is a huge catch.
Blake, I will drive you if you can take me to where you caught that thing. Holy cow.
Isn't that a beauty?
That is awesome. Blake, congratulations on that catch and a very happy 16th birthday. He's in Fort Scott. I guarantee that picture was not taken in Fort Scott. That's tremendous, man. I would have that make sure you frame that thing and put that on your wall. That's great.
Cool.
I'm in the picture. The fish wouldn't fit on my wall. The fish is too big for my house.
That'd be a cool thing to have hanging over your couch. That fish.
I don't think that thing, look how big that thing is.
I love it.
The walls would crumble.
Blake, awesome catch there. All right, and happy birthday too. Let's see. Lane Moore is 18 years old this year. Welcome to adulthood in Galena.
Let's go back to Nevada because that's where Skylar Fritz is celebrating the big number 25. We are masked and socially distancing. The birthday coming yesterday, but the love always coming from your mom, Skylar. So a very happy birthday to you.
All right, and Brian Fuller turning. It's
boom, another one.
Was he noodling to catch that?
I
don't know
think
about
so.
that. Yes.
I think so. That's what I was going to go with.
Yes,
yeah.
I missed that. Somebody needs to take me noodling again.
Well,
Brian Fuller.
And he's even got the headline on. Yeah.
That's cool because that's really cool. All right, Brian is 27 now in Neodesha.
Hey, Brian, you let us know when we're going to fry that thing up. Tanya and I'll be out there in a heartbeat. I promise you that.
I'll help you cook it too.
Savannah Largen, a happy 31st birthday. Miss Savannah, she is celebrating in Stark City.
In Erie, Kansas, Robert Graham celebrating the big 5-0. Who is making Robert vacuum on his birthday?
That's why he's not touching the vacuum. He's like,
I will hold the cord.
It's my birthday. Love that.
Happy birthday, Robert.
We've got a special one down in Miami. That's where Dolores Timms is celebrating her 91st birthday. Miss Dolores, a very happy birthday to you, man, and what a gorgeous cake.
All right. Happy birthday, Miss Dolores. And happy birthday to Carson Bailey, who's celebrating in Frontenac.
What is up, kiddo? She's not up. She didn't have school today. She's sleeping in. That's a good kid right there.
You can watch it online.
Yeah.
I'll have it posted in a little bit.
She's a tad bit near and dear to the Hayslip household right there. Happy birthday, Carson.
All right, our birthday list goes on.
She's not awake though.
Dennis Seiler celebrating today. Diane Commons in Cherokee, happy birthday. And Vicky Punch turned 67 years old in Neosho.
In Humboldt, Riley Ellis, a happy 26th birthday to Riley. Melody Graham is turning 46 in Erie, and I understand that would be the wife of one Robert Graham.
All right, well, she better not be vacuuming either.
That's what I've got right there. Woody Greenball, a very happy birthday to Woody in Miami.
All right. Mary Ferris turning 79 years old this year. Mary is in Chanute. Caitlin Hayes turning 20 in Fort Scott. And finally, we got Jasmine James celebrating number 14 this year in Pittsburgh.
Throw it up for the double J's right there. Happy birthday, Miss Jasmine. Congratulations as well. Miss you guys. Once again, here's where you can send them into a happy birthday and happy anniversaries. And speaking of KOAMnewsnow.com, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. It's really easy to do, and once you do it, you can get special deals from local businesses and be eligible for a prize. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com, sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A man faces murder charges after the bodies of his girlfriend and 2 other people are found buried in northeastern Oklahoma. Court documents show 61-year-old Robert Edwin Lewis of Stillwell faces 3 first-degree murder charges. Authorities found the bodies of his girlfriend Deanna Tippie of Cherokee County, Oklahoma, and Quinley Lamb and Brian Shackelford from Sharp County, Arkansas on Friday and Saturday. This discovery came after Lamb's brother and Lewis's ex-girlfriend reported they had found one body on land owned by Lewis in Cherokee County, Oklahoma. Court documents do not list an attorney who could speak on Lewis's behalf. An Ohio man is dead after a crash in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. It happened on I-44 about 10 miles east of Miami. The crash involved William Arthurl, who died at the scene, and a truck driver from California who was not injured. Area departments of transportation are getting ready to treat the roads to keep them safe. KDOT says they have more than 100 trucks throughout the district ready to go, and officials say they did not start treating the roads until after the rain stopped, so that it wouldn't get washed away. KDOT does have staff shortages in some places, but officials say they will be ready to go regardless. MoDOT also dealing with staffing shortages. Officials say they plan to have workers on 12-hour shifts to get the job done. They want to remind drivers to stay away from trucks as they are working to make your job easier. MoDOT also plans to wait until after the rain to treat the roads. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Yeah, Tanya, you were talking about that rain, something we've hardly touched upon, but we did end up picking up an inch of precipitation. We've got more last night than we did the entire month of January, at least at Joplin Regional Airport. As you head out the door, that's what you're getting ready for right there. Remember, before you head out the door, check out KOAMnewsnow.com, your complete list of closings. Make sure the place to your destination is actually open, because what we've got staring us in the face for the rest of the day, freezing rain indicated in the purple, still hanging on along I-44. We've got snow dominating the majority of the 4 states and really have not budged on those snow totals, still going 6 to 10 inches for the majority of the area that you'll see there in the dark blue. Remember, we get an afternoon break, but we've got additional snowfall that will pick back up tonight and dominate Wednesday night all the way into Thursday morning, with everything sticking around because it's going to be a while before we get above the freezing point.
That's right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making bubbling strawberry rhubarb cobbler in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. I love rhubarb, just saying.
Do you really?
I do.
I didn't know that.
I do.
Wow.
Key lime and rhubarb.
I did not see that one coming. You should see her eat rice. It's fabulous. It makes her sneeze. That's why it's funny. Hey, do me a favor. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today on the KOAM News at noon.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance is brought to you by Guthrie.